one day I got a call after finishing Nancy's biography, and it was Dan. He said, we should meet at, the Iron Rabbit in West Olympia. He said, can you come down, can you meet me tomorrow afternoon? We've got something we really need to talk about. So with Nancy in tow, he pulled up and opened the trunk, and he got about 12 white binders full of this autobiography as a work in progress. And he said, choose my words carefully, he had paid some guy to look at this stuff, and that didn't turn out real well. Right. And he said, you should do this, Nancy says, and I agree. And I said, well, I don't know. We usually are doing.
Yeah, you're starting from scratch. You are telling. You're not doing it. You're not in the autobiography business. You're in the biography business.
So I mentioned this to Kim Wyman, bless her heart,
who was the Secretary of State at the time, the successor to Sam Reed.
She said, oh, we've got to do that. Yeah. She said, do that. And I said, okay, sounds like fun. Little did I know
what you were getting yourself into.
No, I had no idea.
And it all started with in the parking lot with the trunk open
at the Iron Rabbit.
It sounds.
So I took all this stuff home. I loaded it into my car and took it all home, and there were, I think, 500,000 words.
Wow.
And it was, and the interesting thing was that Daniel Jackson Evans was really a pretty good storyteller, except in the parlance of newspapering, he buried his leads.
Right. And he clearly needed an editor.
Yeah, he really did. So the best thing is, people have asked me, is this really me writing or Dan? And it's 90% Dan. It's 90% Dan and 10% me smoothing some stuff out, cutting, and writing in his voice or boosting up the leads. There was this one really great instance, for example, where he met with a group at the height of Black Power with these really agitated, angry black kids in the Central District, and Dan was being so avuncular, and this one kid came up to him and made a gun with his hand and pointed at the governor's head and said, you know, for 2 cents plain or whatever, I'd shoot you right now. And Evans, startled, quickly regained his composure and said, what good would that do? And the kid said something like, it's in here, I hope I quote it right, one less honky, you know. And so when I read that, it's way deep in this chapter, and I thought, boy, that's the lead of that. And then the more I talked to him, then he was really, compliance, not the word, but enthusiastic. He said, oh, God, that's a great idea. So you got to fast forward here with Nancy prodding all the while.
Sure.
Nancy Evans's classic chicken salad lunches. We're working on this autobiography, and I'm cutting, and he's putting stuff back in, and I'm cutting. And finally got to the point where it was this wonderful moment where someone who I'd idolized as a landmark 3-term governor, United States Senator, college president, outdoorsman, I got to the point where it was no longer governor or senator. I could just say, Dan, you've got to listen to me. And then Nancy came around the corner one day and said, Dan, for God's sakes, listen to John once. And this happened on the last day when this book had to go to the printer. Daniel J. Evans is squinting over the galleys with a red pencil, and he's marking on the corner of each DJE and making little corrections. So I got it out the door.
He was literally redlining. You can check out the rest of the show by clicking on the link below or by watching Inside Olympia Thursday evenings at 7 and 10.